people of the internet. Today I am playing automation again, and I need to build a sports car for the 90s. Hopefully a high performance mid-engine sports car, although rear engine would be okay as well. Unfortunately I can't select both of them, but this is interesting. Oh yes. Let's build a crazy sports car, why not? I think I'll actually build something like this. Completely mad. I won't go with this because the weight balance doesn't seem to be the same. As if you're going to walk forwards and walk sideways and everything. This is a bit more polished of a design. If you see what I mean, it's a bit lower. So this is probably the one I'll go for. Just what's the difference between these two? They look like exactly the same model, and indeed they are. One has a more effective area, so I'm guessing that's for engine. Anyway, we have that. What do we have with mid-engine layouts? Ooh, we have that interesting one. But probably not. There's a Renault 5, is it? That one looks quite interesting. Can it stop me getting an MPV though? That's the thing. There was actually a Renault 5 Turbo. It was more in the early 80s, but there was one of them. In the last 10 years though, what do we have? Yeah, this is a more modern vehicle, so that's why I'm going for it. Nothing to do with it being crazy at all. Well, admittedly, slightly to do with it being crazy. The disadvantage to using this body is I'm going to have to make the car quite firm. I like my soft, comfortable cars, but this one has to be firm. There's no way around that, because you want to fit a huge engine in here and you want to get loads of power, but it's not going to work if it's not able to find traction, if that's even making sense. I just lost my train of thought, sorry. Because it's a sports car, I think we can go +1 on quality in general, but the engine will be +0, which should give us good look and feel to the car, but without going too crazy. Carbon fibre? No, we do not want that. We're going with a fairly standard kind of body for this, I think. Although it could be a space frame, I don't see too much point in doing that. It may also only be a 5-seater or something, but look at this. You're not going to have any problem at all fitting into it. There'll be loads of boot space as well. I mean, even with the engine in the back, there's just so much size, should I say, with this vehicle. Now, we could go with pushrod on the front, but I don't think we want that. Double wishbone all around. It should be a good sporty layout. If I go with pushrod on the front, it would likely mess things up. I've driven the SBR4 in BeamNG. That had pushrod on the rear and something different on the front, and it didn't quite work. But if we look at the FR16 Formula car, I think that had pushrod all around. So the simple thing I'm saying is it needs to be pushrod all around if it's to work. You can't just mix and match suspensions quite like that. You can have double wishbone and multi-link though, that works quite well. If only we had that option. You'll see I'm going with corrosion resistant steel here. I could change that. I wonder if it went with a space frame. No, it pushes up price too much. As I'm saying, the size. We could put aluminium on if we were going for limited production, which I think we are, but fiberglass. Perhaps. Would fiberglass work in this case though? I wouldn't think it would be rigid enough to be telling the truth about this. I think it looks okay for what it is. But I don't know, would fiberglass work? I guess the chassis is corrosion resistant steel. But everything on top of that? I don't know. Corrosion resistant steel is what I'm going for. I could probably go with partial aluminium actually, but I don't want to do that. Even if corrosion resistant steel is heavier, it's just a very solid material to build with. So that should be good. For the lights, I've had a very weird plan. I would say you'll have to tell me if you like this, but not like you're going to change anything just watching this on your computer, so yeah, I'll probably mess up the design and then blame it on you or something like that. Aye, I saw that, you cheeky grabbing that thing when I didn't want you to. Oh yes, look at this elegant design. Could change the size of them, mind. It's just I worry if I want them the same size, I'll fail to get them back to the same size. How does that work? Not too well. They're kind of bubbly lights, but that's okay. I don't like that so much though. I think what we need is some kind of indicators, should I say. We can also have maybe lights down there. No. This is going to look truly ridiculous. The Motorsport MPV. Now, for the grille, I don't think I need a lot. I'm not going to chrome this thing though, since it seems largely pointless. There's not really the reason to chrome it. It's a sports car, plus there's no chrome around the windows. It just wouldn't quite fit if I did try and chrome it. I think I want this in body colour, unless I go like Dodge Challenger with it, which I don't really want to do. So that's going to be body colour. There we go. Now we need a badge. Come on, what badges do we have? The Japanese are building sports cars in this decade. We need to do something. We need to do something about it. Maybe that can go there. No, I'm going with a bonnet ornament then. Just see what this one's like. I think this is a Mercury one, but it works okay on this. I'm not too sure I like it though, with this particular vehicle. Yes. If I can get this to fit, if I can have a leaping Jaguar. Oh, it doesn't quite work on this this body, should I say. We can have what appears to be an angel though, ready to take flight. Look at that. Everyone knows you're classy when you have a bonnet ornament. That's why Mercedes drivers think they're so much better than us. And that's why they are so much better than us. Yeah, my dad's just got a Volkswagen Audi Group vehicle. But my car's going to be better. It's going to be better than his MPV. Rear wheel drive. Yep. That's about it. I wish I could go with all-wheel drive, but unfortunately I can't. Now, I'm thinking there's two engines we could really go with. We could go with a high-performance turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engine, or a larger naturally aspirated V6. Now, since it's not going to be all-wheel drive, I don't see a huge draw towards making it a turbo, so I'm thinking I'm going to make it a V6. So I'll join you when I've added some parts onto this and got a basic tune. So here we have our engine, and I think I've done quite well actually. Not the most powerful unit in the world, not the largest nor the smallest, but for the purpose we've got in mind it does quite well, it fits nicely. And you'll see it's actually a quad cam engine if I just lower the levels. Yep, quad cam. Quad cam on a V6 basically means single overhead cam per cylinder bank, but it works. 4 valve per cylinder. Pretty new technology actually. This engine type could have been in a supercar not too long ago. Well, I say too long ago from 1990, provided I had a pair of turbos. So it's not too bad that you're getting it in a what's essentially an MPV now, like a crazy Volkswagen bus in terms of driveline. Still, we've got all the stuff you can see down here. 6 cylinders, it's 2.5 litres, just about. And we've got pretty high-end stuff here. Again though, that doesn't come out as good as Forged for actually dealing with RPM, so that's why I've used Forged in that particular respect. Quality is all on 0, as I said. We've got quite normal compression, but fairly low overall. Quite high cam profile. You'll see it revs very, very high. Makes the torque very, very late. Although it does make some torque low down, which is always good. And it makes 211 torques and 211 horsepower. I could make more, but I'll get onto that in a moment or two. The economy is decent as well. Not the best I could build, but it's not too horrible. We've got a naturally aspirated engine, and it's got single point electronic injection. Now I could put crazy multi-point injection on, but I honestly think single point does the job fine. It's a lot cheaper as well, and it should be a lot cheaper to replace compared to the other technologies. So that's always nice to know. All the ignition timing is set to 98. You can just set it to 100, but that actually reduces performance oddly. I could probably build this engine better if I desperately wanted to, but you know, I can't really be bothered going through the effort since everything works as I would ever want this engine to work. I don't need to mess with it anymore. It revs quite high for V6 to 7900 RPM, as I'll show you now. Strangely, I couldn't hear my variable valve timing kicking in, but it is there, apparently. And that's our engine, so we can move on. You'll see everything's nice and green here. Although, a bottom end part is apparently hitting its rev limit, which is odd. I don't remember that. It's all green, so... I don't know. No, it's just valve flow now. I think it was because I was revving it very high and it was hitting the red line. It's quite close to the limits of the engine dynamically, but I did make sure it could rev to that level. Now we want a manual, I would say 6-speed, but then they've not been invented yet. Now we can go with a 5-speed, which is pretty good. I believe the MR2 of the same year had a 5-speed, so it's nothing too crazy for a sports car in 1990. But it is going to cost more than it might have otherwise costed. I don't want a 4-speed though. Unless a 4-speed can somehow be very good, I wouldn't want one. 5-speed should do the job just fine though. We may go with some aero actually to help hold this thing to the road, because it's an MPV. It's not exactly got the lowest centre of gravity to help it. We're going to need some assistance there. I think we want a differential. Go with a vicious because it's cheap. And we want to keep prices down somewhat. Look at that power plant though. Just lower the body a little. Look at that. Rear-engined monster. Who would know? Who would know from the outside though that this is basically a V6 sports car? I'm trying to think of one. I would say Zeta V16T. That's obviously not a V6. It's a V16. Or the tyre. Oh dear, I can put wider on the front. This may end up looking a bit like a Renault 5 Turbo MPV. Okay, so what do we have to change here? Can extend them out. They don't look as ridiculous as a third. Can bring the front out as well. It should help avoid rolling. I think I'll go with 215s or 225s on the front. 225s, I think. Should do the trick. Oh. We apparently need fairly small wheels, because it reduces what width the rears can be. 15 should be okay, I hope. I really do hope though it's not going to tip over, or something even worse perhaps, when I try and take it through a corner. How does that look? No, not good at all. There we go. Can they go out? No. Makes sense, I guess. So, there is our vehicle. Maybe 215s actually. I'm just thinking. No. Might have made it look a lot better visually, but it doesn't. We are going to add some more trim pieces. I just rushed through it on this particular vehicle. We need medium compound tyres for now, and alloy wheels. Should be a good combination, just if only they were a little bigger. We want some vented discs on the front, I think, 2-piston. They're expensive, but it's an MPV. Can go 300mm. They're going to be expensive, yeah. 256, it's not actually as ridiculous as I'd expected. And we'll go with 1-piston solid discs on the rear, which can hopefully go for about 240, 230. Should do the job for stopping this thing. The fronts are bigger than they should be though. But yeah, we want this to handle. And I was going +1 for quality, wasn't I? Before I got distracted, so we need to go and change that. Now we can go with a fully clad, can we? Semi-clad. Yes, keep the mass production aspects of this available. Now the cooling, it needs more, but we can come back to that, so that's all perfectly fine and okay. I just worry about how I'm going to make it look any good if I'm adding grills left, right and centre. Oh dear, mustn't forget. Can we even have 8 seats in this with the engine in the back? Wow, that's amusing. Where would the rear passengers go though? I can understand how you would fit, how many, 5 in here, just about. Maybe if you move that wall back, but trying to fit 8 in, isn't that an exaggeration? Yeah, I think we're going with 5, really. Because even though you can technically fit 8 in, I think it's just because of the way the body works. If you actually had the engine in that part of the vehicle, you almost certainly wouldn't be sitting 8 people in this vehicle. Now, for assists, we want anti-lock braking and power steering, definitely. Premium interior, I would say. Or could we go with sport? Sport is a lot more expensive. Premium. We want anti-lock brakes and traction control. We probably don't need it, but it's better to go with it anyway, I think. Especially since we might have all kinds of crazy weight balance going on in this. We want standard 80s. We don't want to go mad with infotainment systems and everything that adds loads of safety features we just don't need. We wanted to keep it as light as you can realistically keep this. The suspension, we can go with some progressive with monotube dampers and passive sway bars. Keeps it cheap. We're going to make it sport suspension anyway, so it's going to be firm regardless of what technology we use. Now, that should do the job. Sport. And let's see, 1323 kilos. Yep. You would not expect this to be as light as it is. I don't even know how it would be that light, seriously, with a V6 and everything. 17 miles per gallon. And that's probably largely attributed to the weight. And 67% rear weight balance. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make some final changes and then I'll return to show you the finished result. So here I have built a thingy of the car we had before. Yeah, not my finest work in design, but you'll see the important bits. I have 2 rear wings on there, and I actually have 2 front splitters, one underneath the other, to hopefully give me the downforce I require. Yeah, it wasn't getting much downforce any other way. You'll see the weight balance is terrible, 33.2% front and 66.8% rear. I've reflected this in the downforce by having 30 front and only slightly more on the rear. There are wider tyres there, remember, but we still need to keep the front down, so the front is more important, I would say, for keeping down than the rear, since that's already got all the weight over it, perhaps unsurprisingly. The economy now is only 16 miles per hour, miles per gallon. Thanks economy. It is fairly quick though. If we look back to the gearing, we'll see it does 0 to 62 in 6.4 seconds with very minimal wheel spin, which I've had to tighten the gears to achieve, but it works. I could possibly go with a different differential and get more out of it, but no. I could reduce wheel spin, but wheel spin is already very well managed, so that's no problem. The weight is still stupidly good. Like, I don't know how this car manages to remain so light as it is, but then it does. So that's always nice. Now, for markets, we're looking at adding about 7% to the base price, and that'll give us a $16,000 vehicle. Not too bad for a sports car. The economy car I built before, the Tortoise, that was 11,000 or 12,000, I think, in the turbo trim, which was, again, a lot cheaper than this, but then this is a sports car, so I think we can get away with charging more. We have more than double the power of that, so yes. You know, it's fairly quick for the time as well, remember. Although the Tortoise Turbo was always a better performance bargain, 160 horsepower and under a ton, and then, you know, it might even hold one of these off round the course, but that's what we can see now, so I'm going to take it round and rejoin you when I have done that. So, the time I set, well, for a 7-seater MPV at least, was pretty surprising. I mean, look at this thing. What would you imagine it setting? I'd imagine it being somewhere around the Tortoise Turbo, but slightly quicker, which is exactly what it did. The Tortoise Turbo, which I've for some reason not listed on the leaderboard, was a 2 minutes 37 time, and this is a 2 minute 33.31, so around 7 seconds quicker than the Tortoise Turbo. Yes, it did have more power and the engine was naturally aspirated, so it didn't lag like mad, as you'll see there. You know, it's a decent enough vehicle and it gets off a line decently. For an MPV, it's remarkable. I guess you can't really call it an MPV anymore with just 5 seats. It's more of a large family car as opposed to an MPV. But I'm impressed, I will admit. Simple perhaps, but it uses simple technologies to good use. You know? It came just below my land barge, the country, as well, by 0.06 seconds, so very close to that. And for a slightly newer car, yes, they're different though. This is clearly sporty. I would have the country, which is the land barge, any day over this. It's just going to be a far more comfortable car, even if it is stupidly massive in comparison. It's just a car that's going to make more sense in the real world. But this is one of those cars for when you don't want to make sense in the real world. For when you want to go setting mad lap times in what just appears to anyone else like some kind of MPV or minivan. So, all in all, I am very, very happy. I've achieved a sports car that is quick, and I'm sure people will hate it. I'm sure the odd person will love it, but I'm personally one who loves it, so with that I'm going to say, well, the name. Things aren't going together quite as I had envisioned them to, but I have named the vehicle without the recorder destroying me this time, so I'll just explain through it. I've named the vehicle Monster and His Kids because, well, you can carry a monster in it, and his children, as a matter of fact. It's also called Speedy Max variant because, yeah, I decided that was a more relevant name than Sport, somehow. And the variant is just Speedy Max V6 variant 1 of the engine. Look at that engine, it's such a beautiful thing. Well, to me it is, but I built it, so I would say that. Still, I think I could have done a lot worse, and I'm pretty proud of what I've built here. So I'll leave you with a finishing shot of it and say goodbye until another day.